Hello everyone and welcome back. I am hosting Friendsgiving this weekend and I thought to film a video for you guys. So I am in New York City and cooking in a small apartment, so I have limitations to what I can make, but I'm still going to make everything from scratch and make the things that I consider to be my perfect Thanksgiving meal. I'm going to start by making some roasted garlic. I'm planning to use roasted garlic for a few dishes tomorrow, so that's the first thing I'm going to do today. I'm just going to slightly drizzle this with olive oil and add some salt and pepper. These have been previously boiled. I like to boil for about 10 minutes before I roast, so I can remove some of the bitterness of it and gets very nice and sweet at the end. I'm just going to close it and make a papiette, or just kind of tie the sides together to make sure I trap all of the steam in there. And I'm going to put this whole thing in the oven at 350 for about an hour to an hour and a half. While that's in the oven, I'm going to go over with you guys about what's the plan for tomorrow, what I want to make. I'm going to make a whole turkey. I got a small one, about 13 or 14 pounds I believe, and I'm going to make a few sides, some mashed potatoes, Brussels sprouts, stuffing of course, but I guess in here it would be considered dressing because I am actually technically not going to cook inside the turkey. And I'm also going to make cranberry sauce, the Delicata squash dish, and a few appetizers. So I'm working here and peeling lots of onions because I want to do some caramelized onions first. These things take a little bit of time. So just like the roasted garlic, I wanted that to be one of the first things that I do. And I'm also going to be making turkey stock today and a brine. Those are always things that I like to do the day before too. I use turkey stock for a lot of things. I use it for the stuffing. I like to make gravy. Also, I like to have it handy to ladle or to moisten the turkey when it comes out of the oven. So I'm not going to slice these onions too thin actually. I like to have them slightly on the thicker side so they can hold some shape when I caramelize them. I'm just gonna get a nice heavy skillet here, warmed up with some oil, and I'm going to add all of the onions to cook slowly. I don't like to cheat when I'm making caramelized onions. I actually like to let them cook slowly and caramelize, you know, with time. So I'm just going to make sure I coat all of them nicely with the oil, and I'm going to let them cook here in a low heat for a long time. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt on it too, just to help taking the moisture out, but not too much, because this is going to lose a lot of volume and I do not want to over salt them. But even though this looks like a lot of onions, I'm going to probably just end up with 1 cup of caramelized onions because they tend to cook down a lot. Now we're going to move on to some garlic butter. I'm going to use garlic butter for a few different dishes too. That's something I always also make before Thanksgiving or before I'm cooking for a nice big winter meal. So for here I'm just slicing some shallots. I'm also going to use some garlic, herbs and wine. So for the shallots, I'm not trying to slice them too thin. I'm going to put this in the food processor, but I like to make them, you know, a little smaller, not too much of bigger chunks. And then for the garlic, this is about a whole head of garlic. First I like to mash them and then peel everything. These ones I'm not going to chop. I'm going to just throw them whole like this in the food processor. Now for the herbs that I'm using, I'm going to use some parsley. I am going to save the stems of this one. I'm picking them because I want to add the stems to the stock. So I'm just gonna get the leaves in here and pick a good amount, maybe about a cup. But you don't need to do this if you just want to chop them up and put leaves and stems in there. It's fine too. I just want the stems for the stock, so I'm taking a little bit of extra time to do this. I'm going to be using some rosemary, so I'm just running outside to get rosemary from the garden. I don't have many other herbs growing there as well other than the chives, but that's gonna be for tomorrow. So I'm just gonna grab a few sprigs here and I'm gonna use that for the garlic butter. So I quickly gave them a rinse. Now I'm just going to also separate the stems and the leaves. For this one though, I do recommend that you take the stems off because they can have a very strong taste and they're a bit woody. So I'll just pluck the leaves out and then I'm going to use the stems for the stock. I'm also going to do the same with sage. I do have a lot of dry sage from the garden, but I bought some fresh ones to use for the garlic butter and for the stuffing. So that's what I'm going to be using now. So here's my bowl with the garlic and the onions. I'm going to add that first to the food processor. Make sure it's all very nice and fine. And then after that, I'm going to add the butter and the onions. Now I'm going to add some soft butter. I had cut this right before I filmed this video. so they're nice and soft. I don't like to use it too cold, so just room temp is fine. So after the butter, I'm throwing in all of the herbs. I want to get everything in there, and I'm also adding a little bit of dry thyme because I didn't have any fresh at this time. I'm going to buy some fresh one for tomorrow. Now I'm going to add a little bit of salt to that as well, and wine. So I'll say just maybe one tablespoon or a couple tablespoons. I don't want to add too much because I need the rest of that wine for my stock. The garlic butter is done. Now I'm just going to transfer it to a little container and save it to use for tomorrow. Okay, this is how much I ended up with. Almost this whole container over here. I think this is a pint. Okay, we are going to work on the turkey brine now. I always like to brine my turkey for Thanksgiving. I do it every year. And this year I'm using a recipe from Sous Chef. Let me get his book. It's by Sean Sherman. Sorry if I am mispronouncing his name. This is a really great book, and I wanted to use one of his recipes for Thanksgiving. This is the maple brine smoked turkey. I am not going to smoke it. I'm just going to use the recipe up to here, where is the brine recipe, and then down here is just the wood chips. But I am just going to brine with the ingredients from here, and then I am going to roast it and make it a bit of a different way tomorrow. I would smoke it if I had a smoker. I don't have anything that I can smoke with outside. So this recipe is for a 10-pound turkey. I bought a 13-pound turkey because that was the smallest they had. But I plan to actually take the backbone of the turkey out. I'm going to spatchcock it. And because I'm going to brine the turkey, I always make the stock the day before too. I like to make it on my Instant Pot. I do not pressure cook it, I just leave it in the slow cook mode in there. But I like to leave it overnight to get it very nice and flavorful. Okay, so the recipe calls for 4 quarts of water. But I'm going to start with only 1 first, because I'm going to boil this and I have to wait until it's completely cooled before I can brine the turkey. So I'm going to start with 1 quart, mix everything, and then after the salt and the maple syrup is dissolved, I will add the remaining water to cool down a little faster. We're going to need 1 cup of salt, coarse salt. One cup. And we need half a cup of maple syrup. I'm gonna add the maple syrup to the same cup. Has a little measuring grid inside. Okay. Also add 2 tablespoons of juniper berries. I only have a little bit of juniper berries, sorry, left in here. And I'm gonna add this whole thing. I think there's only over a tablespoon, but it is what it is. That's how I have, so I'm gonna add that. And a whole sprig of sage. I only have a little bit of fresh sage left, so I'm going to use some of my dried ones that I showed you guys in the last video. So I have already jarred them, as I said I was going to do, but I saved some of the stems. And I'm going to just add some of the leaves of this dry sage here too. We're going to call this a very large sprig of sage. I'm going to mix it a little bit, and I'm going to put this in the stove, bring it to a boil, and then add the remaining 3 quarts of water. So the brine is already coming to a boil, as you can see here, and I can see also that all of the salt is already dissolved. So I am going to turn it off. This is not going to completely cool it down right away, but it definitely help to cool down faster. Our brine is now ready, and I'm going to put it to the side to cool. Okay, I just realized that I did not press on in my camera when I was butchering the turkey. So here's what I have for the backbone, the tail, the neck, and the giblets. I don't know how to say that, giblets. I'm gonna use that for the stock too, because I think it adds great flavor. And I'm gonna roast this in here first until I get a very nice golden brown color. I have some of the scraps of the veggies, onions and the garlic, and then some of the parsley that I put in the garlic butter. And then I'm gonna add some of this to the stock too. I'm going to just season it with olive oil, salt and pepper. Also, I always use gloves when I'm working with raw turkey, just to avoid cross-contamination. I have some salt here that I'm going to add. Then I'm gonna rub it all after, but I don't want to touch it until I put everything in. I like to season my meat before I roast it to add some extra flavor. Okay, now that everything is there, I'm just going to give it a nice rub. Get it in the insides as well a little bit. Very careful so I don't poke my gloves with the bones, especially in here. And I'm not using parchment paper or anything because I want to glaze this pan to get all the delicious drippings after. So just gonna go straight on the pan, and I'm gonna roast this with the skin side up. Okay, let's move on to cranberry sauce. Super easy. I got some fresh cranberries at the farmer's market. I just rinsed them with some cold water. I have about 8 ounces of cranberries in here. The recipe that I'm using calls for 12 ounces of cranberries. It's okay if I put a little bit less. I'm still going to add the same amount of sweetener. This is gonna go in the pot first. I'm only using maple syrup this time. And then I'm gonna add some orange zest and orange juice. So for the zest, I don't have my microplant in here right now. So I'm just going to add a couple nice strips of orange. I like to remove this white part because it's quite bitter. So I don't need to take the whole thing, but I don't like the bitterness that it can add. Just an extra step, not necessary, but I like to do it. So, and I'm going to use the juice of this whole orange. In the past, I used to add orange to my brine for the turkey, so I could add this orange rinds to the brine. You could use a juicer for this, of course, to get more efficient, but I'm just fine doing this today. Definitely will be easier with a juicer. I'm gonna put this in the side for now. This is going to cook for about 25 minutes. Our caramelized onions are ready by now too. I just kept coming here and there and mixing them around, but they're looking good. Now I'm going to check on the garlic. All right, let's see how this is looking. It's been there for just a little over an hour. And when you do this, be very careful. That's a lot of steam that can come out. Just open carefully. And it's very hot as well, so just be careful. But ooh, look at that. Looks very nice. It could go a little longer, could get a little darker, but I think I'm just gonna take them out of the oven so I don't have to worry about it. Now let's check on this turkey too. Ooh, looking nice also. Look at that sizzle. I love the color in this one. Okay, let's move on to the turkey broth now. I have my bones in here, and I have the scraps that I said I was going to add. I'm gonna add this to the pot first. I really like to add the skins too, especially onion skins, because it adds a great caramel, beautiful color to the stock. And that I also did the tops of the garlic, from the garlic that I roasted. All the tops I'm going to throw in here too, for extra flavor. Again, I'm doing all this roasted garlic skin, totally optional, but we love the flavor of this here in our house, so I'm adding that as well. Put this on the side for now. And here, I'm gonna add some celery and carrots. I have a lot of carrots, so I'm gonna add this is the remaining of a different bag that I had. I'm going to cut the tops of this. And I don't need to cut them too small, because this is gonna cook for a very long time. So we're just gonna cut it like this. I'll add that in there. Should take the tip of this out too. I have these leek tops that I actually saved for this. I'm gonna add this too. Maybe not another onion since I have so many onion scraps, so that's gonna go in the pot. And then for the celery, since I already have it out here, might as well just dice it for a couple dishes that I'm gonna use tomorrow. So I'm going to take the bottom out. I don't like to put the root ball in there because I also feel it gets a little dirty, but this whole part I always save for stock. And then I'm going to remove all of the tops of the celery that I don't really use for other things for the stock. Pot's kind of full already, that's okay. Now I'm going to add the bones. I'm going to bring this a little closer so you guys can see. Here's how it looks. It looks a little full, but we're gonna make it work. I'm gonna put this, guys, inside first. And I'll probably, no, actually let me put this one. Probably have to break this in half. Yeah, easy. So it fits in here. Oops. Right, there we go, perfect. Hard with this setup that I have here to show everything, but I'm also adding the liver and the heart and the tail. Then I'm going to grease the pan. I'm going to save this fat to make the gravy tomorrow. So this is ready. I'm just going to add water and then put on my stand pot, and I'm going to fill this up in the sink, bring some of these dirty dishes there, and then I'll be back to finish cutting the celery. Here's the beautiful pot with the turkey broth. And I added almost up to the max line with water, but I'm also going to add some wine. I think there's probably a cup of wine in here, half maybe. This is a Chardonnay, but it can be any kind of white wine really. I just use whatever's left over in my fridge. This is good for stock because it adds some acidity. And for aromatics, I'm going to add some bay leaves, a couple leaves of bay leaves, and some whole black peppercorn, just a little bit. I already had some sprigs of thyme and sage and rosemary on that little bag that I had with the scraps, but I'm going to add a couple more of the sage sprigs that I had from my homegrown sage, just for more flavor. And that's it. I'm going to cover this and we are going to cook this overnight, so it's going to be very tasty tomorrow. Okay, now let's deal with the celery. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me check on that cranberry sauce. It should be ready by now. Okay, it's looking great. There's still some whole cranberries in here, so I'm just going to raise the heat a little bit to see if they pop. But my timer went off and I didn't hear, so they should be about ready. And it kind of looks a little liquidy, but once it cools down, it gets a lot thicker. So I think this is looking good for me. They don't need to be super mashed. So I'm just going to turn this off and leave it in the side for now to cool. Alright, let's just dice up this celery here because I already have it. I'm gonna use celery for two things tomorrow, for the stuffing and for the turkey. I'm gonna use these two big ones, cut it like this on the side, just for putting in the roasting pan. These ones, the leaves I like to put in the roasting pan also. I'm gonna see if I can fill this container with a small diced celery for the stuffing. Let's see how much we're gonna get. I don't want to have to buy another one, so I think we have enough in here. I'm not gonna dice this super fine because I like to be able to see a little bit of that on the stuffing too. I'm gonna do maybe, yeah, a small dice. And for the stuffing, I'm also adding mushrooms and leeks. Oh, you know what? I should have added the mushroom stems to the stock. Oh well. I'll save those to make turkey stock after, with the carcass, the turkey bones after it's roasted. I don't like to put carrots in stuffing. I only put the celery, onion, and in this case I'm doing mushrooms and leeks. I'm adding shiitake and oyster mushrooms. Now we have two more things to get us ahead of time tomorrow. That's very good. Another thing you can do to get ahead is also dry out your bread. For the stuffing, I made some sourdough this week and we left half of it to use for stuffing. So it was already stale when I cut it. I'm going to show you. It's all cut into large cubes. I usually like to tear it, but because it was a little hard, I had to cut it to kind of get in there. And that's good. So this is pretty hard already. It could get even a little harder. I like to do this way, kind of plan ahead and have some homemade bread, some sourdough dried out for the stuffing. If you don't have time, you can always toast it in the oven. And our brine should be cool enough to be able to put in the turkey. I'm gonna do that off camera just because, you know, it's messy dealing with turkey and touching stuff, especially if I have to cut the turkey again. And I'm gonna wash all my dishes and everything again. I don't have a dishwasher, so I have to always hand wash everything. So I'm gonna hand wash everything, clear out my sink, and then see what I'm gonna do with the turkey. I have to get going here, but I think we did pretty good. So made some caramelized onions, some roasted garlic, some compound butter, urban garlic butter, turkey brine, dice up some veggies, a little bit of celery, and cranberry sauce. Hey guys, it's the next day. It is dark outside still, but I want to take the turkey out of the brine. I did end up having to cut it, so I have the thighs in this container and the breast in there. I made a little bit more brine and just added a lot of ice in there to cool it down faster, but everything worked out at the end. I'm gonna take this out of here, and because I didn't have to cut this in smaller pieces, I don't want to leave it in the brine for too long so it doesn't get overly salty, which is actually good because I'm going to leave them uncovered in my fridge for a few hours, which will help the skin to dry out nicely. Let me work on this first very carefully so I don't get turkey juice everywhere. I hope this pan is big enough for everything, because I don't have a lot of space on my fridge. I'm just gonna put it in here. I'll rearrange it after I put the breast. I wanna see if it's enough space in there. See if I can have it like this. Oops. Just put it in here. And I'll just wipe my stove after with sanitizer. Make sure it's all nice and clean. This is not gonna work like that. I want the skin to dry. Do that kind of like how it was before. I'll leave it uncovered because I want all of this skin to get nice and dry. Okay, so now it's time to strain our beautiful turkey stock. I turned it off a little earlier and I let it cool down slightly so I could handle and touch it. I'm gonna try to get all the juice that I can in there. All of these leftover bones and veggies can go in our compost bin outside, the New York City curb compost. They allow us to put meat and bones in there too. This stock came out with a really beautiful color. Look how pretty it is. I love this rich caramel color. Alright guys, can you hear that? So the house next door just got sold and then people are already working on changing things outside, and it is Saturday, but the workers are here working hard. They started early too. So we'll see what we can do to still get this video going. I think that I'm just gonna try to film everything and record the voiceover later. I can't really wait until they're done because by that time people probably already gonna be here to eat with us. So I'm gonna do my best. I'm going to film everything and all the process, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully this video is still going to turn out good. It's just an unfortunate coincidence that they're doing log construction next door right on the day that we decided to do an extensive cooking video, but it's okay. Hopefully it still turn out good in the end. I'm gonna get going here because we have a lot to do. I'm going to start by prepping everything else that I need for the stuffing first. I already cut the celery yesterday, but now I'm going to cut some onions kind of the same size, a little bit smaller. And I'm also saving the scraps of these onions to make stock tomorrow again with the leftover turkey bones. Now I'm going to move on to the mushrooms. I like to just cut the bottoms and then with my hand break up the clumps. Those are oyster mushrooms, blue oysters, and I'm using some shiitakes as well just to add a little bit of richer flavor. And I'm saving all of those stems to add to stock as well. So those are all gonna go in my little baggie of veggie scraps to use for later. Now let's work on the leeks. Leeks have to be washed pretty thoroughly, so before I put them in here, I cut them in half and washed them very well. Now I'm just going to slice them into half moons, and I'm going to put that on the side. Now I'm gonna cut this rest of these carrots for the turkey as well. To combine with that celery, they were already cut yesterday, so it's going to be celery, carrots, and onions. I'm working on the onions now, and those are going to be all of the veggies that are going to roast on the bottom of the turkey. Heard a little break in the construction outside, so I'm just gonna show you guys something real quick. I'm going to add a couple rosemary sprigs and herbs to this bowl already to make it all together, to put it all close, so when it's time for me to just put the turkey in the oven, I can just grab everything from here, put in the bottom, put the turkey, and we're done. So now I'm going to move on to the Brussels sprouts. I have them all washed here. I'm going to use a food processor to shred this. And then after I'm done with all the veggies, I'm going to cut some bacon, because I decided that I'm going to put bacon on the stuffing and on the Brussels sprouts as well. Just going to clean up the Brussels sprouts now. I just cut the bottom off, what was attached to the stem, and I'm keeping all the other leaves in here too. The only thing that I'm not going to use is this little dried bottom part. I'm going to add them to the food processor with the slicer attachment that comes with it. Okay, change of plans. Here the break again. I'm going to slice this in half. This is not working the way I want it. I can use this for salad, but it's shredding way too fine. I had another food processor before that did this very well, beautifully, but it's not working with this one, so it's okay. Just a little change of plans, but not a big deal. Just cut them all in half now, and we're just gonna work with it. It's still going to turn out great. Now moving on to the bacon, I'm going to use this little plastic cutting board here because I feel that it's hard to clean the fat in the wood. So I'm just changing the cutting boards for this, but I'm going to use half of this bacon for the Brussels sprouts and half for the stuffing. So these ones that I'm putting in the pan are going to get part cooked. I'm going to slice them and add to the Brussels sprouts. And then the ones on my cutting board, I'm going to slice them raw to start my stuffing with. And now that that's done, I'm going to move on to cut some other vegetables. I have a purple sweet potato here that I plan to roast and a delicata squash that I'm going to use for a salad. I'm going to make an arugula, spinach, and delicata squash salad with some of those shaved Brussels sprouts. I had a different idea for the squash first, but because I have those shaved Brussels sprouts now, I'm just going to turn everything into a salad. Okay, I have a bit extra time now, so what I'm going to do is just pick all of these herbs that I have left over here. This is going to be for the stuffing, picking some thyme and adding also some rosemary, some sage. For stuffing, I think we need all 4 herbs in there. They all taste delicious all together. In my opinion, fresh herbs are a must for stuffing. That's what really makes it taste really good, and I like to add a lot of them. Then I decided to make some tartlets for today also. Now that the table is clear, I'm going to move to the kitchen and start cooking right now. And then it's going to be making these pastries in here. What you're making?
I'm making a cranberry curd tart.
Okay, now that we're done with all the veggie prep, I'm going to start cooking here in my little tiny kitchen. I usually always have to do that when I'm cooking a big meal. I don't have space to prep here. So I'll prep over there in the living room, big wooden table, and then I move here and start doing the cooking. So I'm going to start with the stuffing, and I have the bread that's been drying for a couple of days, and I'm going to cook the filling first, then I'm going to assemble all the stuffing in a bowl. Also the bacon, it's been in the oven, has 1 minute left, so let's just check how this is looking. Alright, it's okay. I'll leave it in here for now, and I'm going to start cooking the stuffing on here. I usually let my pan heat up for a little bit first, but because I'm doing bacon and I want to render this fat, I'm gonna put the bacon here already and let it kind of cook it slowly. Usually when you make stuffing, you don't want the pan to get brown like this, but I want to get my mushrooms nice and beautiful golden brown color. So I'm okay with having these little brown bits. By the time I add the onions and the celery and the leeks, I'm going to deglaze the pan, and hopefully most of this beautiful browning color will be in the mushrooms by then. Throw the mushrooms in next. Mushrooms have moisture in them too, so they're also going to deglaze the pan a little bit. I lower the heat slightly. I let them kind of cook in there for a minute. Add some salt to help me add some moisture. When I'm cooking too, I like to add layers of flavors, so I like to add salt at different stages. It smells really good here right now. It's already losing a lot of the volume from the mushrooms. And I actually wish I had some white wine. I don't. That would be nice to deglaze this time, but I'm gonna add the leeks. And I'm gonna lower this heat because I don't want the leeks to get too brown. They'll help releasing some moisture. And after them, when they get nice and soft, I'm going to add the onion and the celery. It smells so good. This would be a great fish filling for making fish. It's looking like there's more fat, but what I'm gonna do here, I'll add the onions, the celery, and then I'm gonna add some butter. Usually brown butter is delicious, but for stuffing we wanted to kind of flip it more in the just translucent side. Didn't have breakfast yet, so it's making me really hungry to smell all of this. Just let it cook for just a minute, and then I'm gonna add some butter. So we'll turn it back off again and put the butter in now. I'm gonna season a little bit more. There's a lot of veggies in here. And this time I'm going to use my chive salt that I made with chives from the garden. This is how it looks. I just use my hand for here. Use a little bit. It's looking real beautiful. And then once this is ready, that's when I'm going to add the herbs. White wine would be very good with this too if you had some, so but I don't this time. Still going to be good. Turn it off, and I'm gonna add all the herbs. Now everything smells really good. It smells like Thanksgiving. Put it right here. Now I need to do a little bit of cleaning up because this is how our sink looks. I don't have a dishwasher, so I'm just going to take the time to wash all of this real quick, and then I'll move on to the next steps. Alright, so my camera died and I had to charge it for about an hour, and while that was charging I took the turkey out. It was in the kitchen and I just moved it here to start working on it. I like to take it out of the fridge for about an hour before roasting so it can kind of get to room temp, and it's just about that time now. I'm just gonna move you guys closer here just to see what I'm gonna do. I have my gloves in here. This is the roasting pan. We just got this actually. It worked out great. I was going to cook in this guy, but then we got this one. I just washed it. I'm going to throw the veggies in here, put some olive oil, and then use the garlic butter that we made yesterday. It's been out here too at the same time the turkey has been. I was in the back, not here in the sun, but so it'll be room temp by now, and I'm going to use it to coat all the turkey. So first I'm going to grab some olive oil. Alright, I'm in a rush now because I kind of lost an hour, but I think it's still going to be okay. So I'm going to just put some olive oil in here. It's a little wet, but it's fine. It's gonna be in the oven for so long. Throw some olive oil in here. Throw some of all of these veggies. Put some more olive oil. Gonna kind of take it out and shake it. Put everything in there. Very nice. Add some salt and pepper. Salt, pepper. And I'm gonna put my gloves on already because I'm gonna deal with turkey, and I'm going to arrange this a little bit better. So noise stopped outside. That's nice. I got a nice sunlight here too. Everything is hopefully gonna work out well from now on. So I'll grab a little bit more. It doesn't hurt, right? So veggies. I'm gonna put this rack over here. It's perfect. And I'm gonna open this butter here before I start getting to the turkey. I'm gonna use this butter for something else. I don't want to contaminate everything. Just gonna take what I need to this bowl here on the side. Probably half of it. I want to put a lot. And we're gonna put that over there. So okay, now let's work on our turkey. I'll move these things out of the way. Don't touch anything that I don't need to. Put the turkey in here. I'm gonna try to flip these wings inside so it doesn't burn, and I'm probably gonna put some foil in it too, because sometimes when you brine it the wings can get brown a little bit too fast. There's noise outside again, but we're just gonna keep rolling, okay? Almost done with this. Actually, this will be better, even though it doesn't look like. Okay, get this butter, and I'm gonna go under the skin. Okay, never mind. I stopped for a second. This turkey is actually a fresh organic turkey. It did have come with a little thing here. I took it out, but the skin is very attached to the breast, and it's not as easy to get in there. So I'm just gonna let it be and put the butter on top. Oh my god! I gotta close this window. All that dust got in. Oh well. I hope you're okay. This is good for now, and I'm going to save this to actually baste the turkey while I was cooking. So I'm not gonna add any salt because we have the brine. Just gonna add some pepper. Right, Danny, you want to talk about your beautiful cranberry curd since we have a few seconds break from the noise.
Alright, I'm just cooking the cranberry curd on the stove right now. About 10 minutes, I think. Just simmer a little bit, and then put it in the tart shells, and then it'll be good.
Look at that beautiful color. The little tart shells are looking really good too. Now I'm going to finish this stuffing. I'm going to add the dried bread to a large bowl, and I'm going to pour some of that turkey stock that we made. I'm sort of distributing it evenly, so I'll make sure that lots of this piece of bread gets some good soaking. Then I'm going to mix them all up with a spoon. I should actually have poured the filling into the bowl, then mixed it up, but I just did the other way around while I was making that. I guess it's fine, it worked out great. But usually it would have been probably easier if I had poured all of the vegetables inside, mixed it up pretty well, then poured back into this pot. And I like to have the top of my stuffing nice and golden brown, and usually to ensure that that happens, I like to melt a little bit of butter and pour it on top. I have this skillet here with some regular butter and maybe a spoon of that garlic butter as well for extra flavor, and then I'm just sort of drizzling around and pouring over, make sure that we'll get an evenly browned crust. Alright, time to roast the veggies. I'm going to roast the delicata squash and the purple sweet potatoes in the same sheet pan. They're gonna go in the oven together with the turkey. So I'm just adding olive oil, a little bit of that chive salt, a little bit of black pepper, and I'll get it with my hands and mix everything up to make sure all the fat is evenly distributed. That helps to get a nicer brown color when it's roasted. Okay, I'm just going to baste this now real quick. I don't want to lose too much heat in this oven, but I have this little brush, and this is some of the garlic butter, same one I did before, just melted. So I have it in the door over here. I baste it a little bit. I don't have a lot of liquid on the bottom yet, but once the fat starts dripping, I could take some from the bottle too and baste. But for now, we're gonna still add this nice butter. It's looking really good. It's been here for less than an hour, but I like to baste as much as I can, as much as I remember at least. That's good. Great for the first round. And the veg is gonna stay there for a little longer too. I have some water here that's boiling. Oh, perfect. And I'm going to blanch these Brussels sprouts that we cut earlier real quick. I plan to roast them later, but I feel that by blanching I can kind of pre-cook them, par-cook them a little bit, and then just roast them in the oven real quick right after we serve them, because now we have the turkey and everything else there in the oven. So doing this is a great way to still get them par-cooked and not take any oven space. So this is only going to be here for 2 to 3 minutes. I really don't like them to cook too much. Prefer to do on the safer side. I don't like overcooking my Brussels sprouts. Then I'm going to take them off and put in here. I'm not going to put in an ice bath like blanching usually is. I'm going to transfer them in here, put them in the living room and let them kind of cool there. I'm going to use the same water to cook my potatoes after. I am doing another potato dish today. I decided to do something else also. We have these little creamer potatoes. These guys here, I'm going to wash them. And I'm going to make a mashed potato dish with this. And then after that I'll cook these roasted potatoes for the mash. There, I'm going to take it out already. They look good enough to me. Just put them in this sheet pan over here. I also like that if you cook them in salted water, now I also layer the flavors like I said I did with the stuffing. We're going to get a little bit seasoned now, and then I'm going to season a little more just right before the oven. I will mix this with some of the bacon that I cooked earlier, toss them around. That one is part cooked too, and they'll just have to finish very quickly at a very high oven right before our guests arrive tonight. So I rinsed these potatoes and I'm going to cook in the same water. Even though it's a little bit green for the Brussels sprouts, it's not a problem. And they cook for about 15 minutes until very tender, because I'm going to smash them after and dress with that garlic butter that we still have. And then again, right before the guests arrive, I'm going to put that in the oven to get nice and crispy. The temperature dropped a bit. I'm not very worried about it. So I'm just going to put the lid back on. And once they come back to a boil, I'll put a timer for 15 minutes. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good. I will start working on some appetizers now. I'm going to slice some carrots and celery for some hummus that I have made a few days ago this week, and I just added some roasted garlic to it last night. And what else? We have to do a baked brie, but we're gonna work on that a little bit later. Most of the things are just gonna have to be finished up quickly right before people come. The mashed potatoes, I like to keep them warm. I don't really like to cool the mashed potatoes and then make them warm again. So I'm going to make them a little bit later, right before people come in, and leave them out here warm as well. Right, Danny's assembling his beautiful cranberry tarts now. It's looking really good. I really love that color.
Yeah, really good.
Very beautiful. The roasted veggies are out of the oven and the potatoes are cooked as well, so I'm just working on mashing them with this jar. I'm going to leave them in the sheet pan, and then I'm going to add some olive oil, some garlic butter, and just right before the guests come, I'll put it in the oven to finish cooking them and to get nice and crispy. Alright, let's check the temperature of this turkey. Whew. I think it's gonna, the thighs are gonna probably be almost there because they're cooked separate from the breast. And try to go in the thick spot. Almost there. The color is not what I want to be yet. Actually, I might raise the temperature a little bit just for the end. It's 156 for the thigh, so it's going to be there pretty soon. Check the breast. The breast 150. 144. Yeah, the breast can take a little longer. I took the foil off the wings and now just put on top of the breast because it's getting like nice color. So I'll let it cook a little longer, get some color in here. Probably take this legs in about 10 minutes. But I will raise the temp a bit. I'm actually probably going to, now that I think about it, I'll start putting the stuffing in there. The stuffing will cook for about 40 minutes without the lid, or with the lid, sorry. And then a few more minutes, maybe 20, 30, depending, with the lid off. But the turkey, I'm gonna take it out soon. It's going to have to rest for a while. But while people are coming, I'm still working on this. We will have some appetizers out. But for now, I'm going to take a quick break, take a shower, charge the camera again, and I'll be back in about an hour. While the camera was charging, I took the time to finish all the appetizers. I used the caramelized onions for a couple things on this table. I made this baked brie with caramelized onions and also a French onion dip to serve with raw veggies, the hummus, and the bread. Okay guys, we're back. I'm getting a time crunch now because our friends are going to arrive soon, so I'm going to just finish everything up. I'm making the mashed potatoes here with just a regular masher. I was going to use a food meal, but that didn't work. So it's just going to do the old school way. Oops. And I'm going to heat up some half and half. That's what I have here. And butter. That butter is a little soft because it's been sitting out, but it's fine. Mashing this while that cream heats up. I'm just gonna leave this on for now. Season with some salt. Usually mashed potatoes need lots of salt to taste good, so I'm gonna do it in layers. I'll start like this first, mash it a little bit. I'll add the cream and then I'm gonna taste it again. I don't want to overwork these potatoes so they don't get gummy, but I wanna try to mash them good. So both of the turkeys are out. I have the stuffing in the oven and I'm just going to get this Brussels sprouts that I have prepared. This is how they look now. I cut the bacon and added to this pan. I'm going to serve on this pot here, but I'm going to throw this in a sheet pan in a really hot oven, get a nice char on it, and then return it to here just for serving. But this is going to stay out here for now. These mashed potatoes too, I'm adding some roasted garlic, the roasted garlic that we made yesterday. I'm going to put a lot of roasted garlic in the mashed potatoes. Okay. Yeah, I can see that the butter already melted over there on the cream. And I'm gonna change this up and get just a spatula. Cream is a little warm. I'm gonna add a little bit of cream and butter. You could put the butter cold to emulsify, but I'm okay with this. We're just home with some friends. I'm okay to just melting it together with the cream. Still going to turn out great. Now in this, I'm gonna make the gravy on this little pot over here. So I don't want to waste this cream. I can use this to add to the mashed potatoes if I feel that's a little bit dry by the time people get in. So I'm gonna transfer this just to a little glass container. Sorry about my mess with the potatoes in there. I'm gonna clean everything up after I finish this video. I'm gonna wash this pot and I'm gonna make the gravy. I need to remove this turkey from here because I want to get those drippings. The legs are already ready. I took them out before they're resting. Oh, it's a little hot, but I'm gonna go put it here in a different container. Then those veggies in here I'm gonna use for something else. I'll remove this rack. I'm gonna turn this on to kind of warm up. I'll deglaze this with some white wine. Then I'm going to strain this directly in this pot. But to start the little pot, I'm going to use some of the fat from the backbone that I roasted yesterday for the stock. This is the remaining of the stock that we made. So I'm gonna use that too. I might not make all of these out of gravy, but I'll use at least half. So I'm just gonna start by adding this turkey fat to this pot. You can add butter also if you don't have the turkey fat. I just think the flavor is really good and all the drippings go in there. And flour. We're making a roux. This is what's gonna make this gravy a little thick. Not measuring anything, I'm just going to put here. It's kind of like the same amount of flour and fat. We don't want this to be too thick. I could put some of the roasted garlic in here too. I could be doing this with a whisk, but the whisk is dirty. Turn this down a little bit. I want to cook a bit the flour because I don't want to have the raw flour taste. Now this over here is looking great. It's not as dark as I thought it would be. I'm going to pour that in here very carefully. So it's not heavy, this pan, but I want to get all of this juice and dripping. Very nice. And because I don't have the whisk, if this gets a little chunky, I'm just going to strain it again one more time. I'm not very worried. Now it's breaking a bit because it's a lot of fat. I'm gonna put this stock. Oh, nice. Okay, let this thicken up a bit. I'm gonna try it. I feel this. That's good. Oh, that's delicious. Might put a little bit more stock just because I'll make sure everybody has enough. Then let it thicken up a bit. Okay, everything's almost ready then. I'm going to clean up more and then I'm just going to set the table. Once I have everything on, I will show you guys how everything turned out. And here is our final table with everything served. I like to always slice the turkey before I serve and serve in this beautiful casserole pan. All of the sides turned out really good. The stuffing turned out so delicious after it got nice and brown. My friends were actually kind enough to take these pictures for me because I did not have time to do any more filming or taking pictures once people started arriving and I started assembling the dishes. But it was really nice to have everyone over and enjoy a very nice meal together.